Hi, I'm Reed Fetters. Welcome to UrbanWork Podcast. I'm here with Becca. Thank you for joining.
And here.
Well, I'm glad you're here too. And we have a special guest today, but Quinton Davis. Welcome to the podcast. I appreciate you coming. And we've got your brother Dwight.
Sir?
Yep. And your dad, Pop.
Yep. Pops.
Pops. You're Pops and he's Poppy.
Yeah,
we'll get into the Poppy a little bit later.
We'll talk about
The
it.
real Pop, yeah.
The real Pop.
The reason why this is such a good podcast and why I love this is that you're a big part of what we're doing at UrbanWork and Tacoma Rising. This is an UrbanWork podcast, but we work hand in hand with Tacoma Rising. So first of all, thank you. I want to dig into just you and your studio today and your background and what got you here. So first question I'm going to ask, and I'm going to let you take the next one, but I got to know this. When you walked in here and met me for the first time, what was going through your head?
To be honest, I didn't know. I don't even think Metal Framework was up, but I know I invited you to my studio that I already had, and I wanted to be a part of whatever was going on, but didn't know exactly how I was going to fit in with the vision, if there was, room for a recording studio. Because one of the hardest things, like being a producer or just having a recording studio, is like noise is going to be an issue. Nobody wants a recording studio, in their building. So I didn't know it was possible. And I don't know if you knew it was possible at the time, because when we first met, you're like, oh man, we'll see what it is. But you called me like a day or two later and you start to have some ideas and some plans of what, kind of what you wanted to do. And probably about a year later, here we are talking in the podcast studio. So
that's exactly right. I remember when you came in, I was like, man, that would be cool. And I was thinking about putting you upstairs. And I was like, man, I don't have a spot for you.
Yep.
And I knew the podcast studio, we were going to build something. I didn't know to what scale. I did not expect this. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you came in and you left, I went upstairs and I started laying it out. I don't like this. And I was like, man, you know what? What if I put him right next to the podcast studio? And then I started just drawing, and I was like, man, that could work.
Yep.
And I was thinking about acoustics, and then all of a sudden this thing got bigger.
Yep.
And then your thing got bigger. And then I was like, man, what if he isn't who he says he is? And you know what I mean? Because I was like, I'm about to ask the landlord to spend a lot of money on this. Yeah. And I was like, oh,
yeah.
Well, so I was like, I guess I better check, just
to
check.
Be honest, that's I know, because there's a lot of people that are in music and do production and stuff, but that's part of the reason why I wanted you to see what I currently have, so know what I'm kind of coming up from, just to kind of give you, I guess, a little bit of piece of like, okay, this guy he may be who he says he is, and let's figure out what we could do. So. Yeah.
Well, and it wasn't anything. I don't know anything about music other than I sing in the car. That's about it. And when people don't want to hear it, but seriously though, we when we went to your studio, I walked in. I was like, holy shit! I was like, man, I don't know if we can do all this. It went from wondering, I'm not sure what I'm getting myself into, being like, well, I don't know if we can pull this off. But I feel like we did it, and. We'll check your studio out later, but I was just curious. I never really asked you what was going through your head.
Yeah, I don't know. I seen a lot of Metal Framework for a while, and I was like, and I hate to keep bugging. I was like, hey, where we at with this? But it was like Metal Framework, and then like a week later, it's like, all right, the framing, the sheetrock's going up. This is becoming real. We got Steve involved to, the acoustician, to figure out, okay, how the acoustics going to work, and started doing some sound testing. But here we are.
We put your project on hold, this project on hold like twice.
Yeah.
Because of just everything going on. It was like there was a refinance. There was so much going on. And I was like, oh my gosh, I hope you can hold out. And I'm glad you did, because man, what we came up with, it's really, really incredible.
I'm glad too. It was one of those things too, like I wasn't in a rush to get there, because I, still operating down on A Street. So it was like more of like exciting versus like, all right, when is it going to be done? And why are these guys taking so long? It's like, hey, take your time. I see the, the vision. And just being, excited to get started over in this new area. So,
yeah, no, well, we're lucky to have you. Glad to have you.
Appreciate it. Yes, glad to be here.
So I want to kind of take it a step back before you met us. I've never actually heard your whole story. So like, how did you open your first studio? When was that? Why Tacoma? Why did you choose to have your studio in Tacoma?
I guess let me take it back. I know you guys heard this story many times, but my mom told me at an early age, she said, your real job's going to pay for your car, music's going to be for the gas you can put in your car. So that was her way of basically telling me not to chase my music dreams without having anything to fall back on. So kind of took heed to what she said. Went to school, majored in business, minored in music, went back to school to get my master's in business to kind of fulfill my mom's requirements. And then from there, it's been kind of, I've been with corporate America for the last 16 years and then kind of doing music on the side. But growing up in a music family, like my dad was a minister of music. The pastor was like my uncle. And we just always my dad had a recording studio in the house. So it was always known like what I was supposed to be doing, what I wanted to do. It just kind of came natural. So over the 16 years, kind of dabbling in music, doing it on a part-time basis. But honestly, when I met Reed and, seeing the vision, that kind of gave me like, I could really do this full time, because making that leap from, a steady paycheck from every 2 weeks, what you're getting, the employment, the benefits and all that good stuff is there. But with music, I don't want to say you question if you're good enough, but the recurring revenue, you never know how things are going to kind of flow out. So UrbanWork and working with you guys kind of gave it the easy, I guess, transition from corporate to doing this full time. And so that's pretty much in a nutshell. And then where I met, I don't know if we're there yet, but growing up in church playing the drums, my dad was a minister of music. When I went to school and minored in music, I kind of learned on paper what I already knew how to do, but it now made sense. And now I can communicate to other musicians and kind of put myself in different rooms that I wouldn't be in otherwise if I didn't know the theory behind music. And so from there, going backwards, when I was 1999, 97, I played saxophone in middle school. And I remember coming home one day and, just being like a band geek. Being in music is not really glamorous. It's like sports or, the cool kids. And then you have, the band geeks. And so I was definitely a band geek, had my little saxophone, my Ted Brown music case, and learning how to read music, what it looks like on paper. And I came home one day and I seen this guy in my dad's studio, and he was just making beats. Like he made music fun. And I was like, oh man, I want to be a part of that. How do I take this saxophone and kind of make it cool? How do I make it, make it work for me? And we started working on music together and then just really finding my love. I know I wanted to do it, but I needed to see somebody that was around my age that was already doing it, that was successful, to kind of give me that motivation to keep going. So that's pretty much the foundation of my music.
Your mom's brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, to be able to turn your passion, something you love, into a business. Yeah. Like your background in business and then working at Boeing for, 16 years or however long it was. Mm-hmm. Like that's all critical for where you're at now. Yeah. It puts you in that place. Like I did architecture for, 15 years before I went off my own 15 years. Yep. And even though I went into I started doing other things, that was my base, right? Yep. The education and working, being in a corporate setting, like you have to learn so much. Yes. You have to learn to work with other people. And I think that's critical. And the background in business is just, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. And there's so many people with passions out there that if they had that experience, they could do something with it. 100%, yeah. And that's those types of things. They're not thinking about it like that your mom did. It's like, go figure out how to make your passion become your dream. Yep. Like how do you do that? Absolutely. Yeah. And earn money. Yeah. And I think Boeing, like I look at Boeing as like a paid training. Like I was in finance, I was in business operations. So now I have the opportunity to do for myself what I've been doing for corporate America all these years. And it also teaches you the discipline to like wake up and like be and understand yourself. Like I know from 9 to 12 is going to be my most focus hours. 1 to 3, you might not get anything done, but then, 4 o'clock on, that's my creative space. So kind of planning my day, knowing what I've learned about myself over the last 16 years definitely helps. Pops, what did you think about his his career path and where he's at now? Did you see it? Did you know that he was going to end up in music like this?
Oh, yes. I poured him to him the way the guitar picker back in the day poured into me. He was a guitar player at my dad's church, and I used to always sit on the front row and just stare at him. He said, you know what? One day you're going to be a guitar picker. And guess what happened? Here I am. And so we poured the same thing off into him. Only thing I wish I know, he used to always sit back and watch me and do what I do. Yeah. And next thing I knew, because I was thinking about when I was making beats, and he came to me and said, hey, Dad, let me make one of the beats for you. I said, no, you ain't ready for this. Then, I let him, make a beat. So I said, oh, he don't sound too bad.
You can be honest.
Then he started getting better, and so next thing I knew, when I was asking him to make a beat, he said, I don't have time right now. So after he pulled that off into him, the next thing you don't have time for pause. But anyway, yeah, I'm glad that we did what we did. Like his mom said, I always poured into him, so we both poured into him, and that's why he's at where he's at today.
Dwight, how do you fit into all this?
I'm the janitor.
Yeah, whatever, dude.
So I was on my own little path when I met Pop and Quinton. I was like the polar opposite, right? So my thing is music has to work. I don't have anything. There was no trade. There was none of that. Like I couldn't afford school. I had nothing. And so, I at that time I knew what it was to kind of like live in a space where it's pretty not favorable, or, sleep on the street a couple times, whatever it took to make music go, that's what I did. So when I met Pop, we were at the Gospel Fest and I was performing with a group, and somebody said, that's Neville, he does a recording. And I was like, really? Well, all I had to offer Pop was whatever gifts I had. And so I said, hey, I'll come in and I'll program your music, just for studio time. And he said, oh, okay. So he said, so like we gonna network. I said, yeah. So I said, okay. And from that day to this one, he was a father to me instantly. He picked me up. We went everywhere. He took me to everywhere I needed to go. You need to get a driver's license. We'll do that. Like, he took me, and then I would go to his studio. He would finish work, pick me up. We go to his house, and I would just be in his studio programming whatever he wanted, whatever songs were needed. And I didn't have any equipment or anything. I had nothing to my name, and that studio was all I had. So when he came in, that's why you were like, oh, I want to see somebody want to do successful. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know about that. I was just a broke kid wanting music to work, and at that time, you couldn't have told me that I hadn't made it. I was like, this is it. I'm in the studio, I'm doing my thing, and I was taking the bus everywhere when I could scrape coins together or whatever. And he would come in from school, and little by little, he would just come sit and watch me program and not say anything. He would just sit and watch me program. And then one day I saw him with the saxophone, and I said, hey man, you should play your sax, and he, well, I'm not that good. I'm like, we'll make it good. And we started playing sax, and I would teach him how to play to whatever it is I programmed. And I could tell that lit a spark. And then years passed by. Out of nowhere, he just comes up with a CD of 17 beats, just out of nowhere. That's and he funny. Puts the thing in, and I'm listening to him, and I'm finding myself going. So I'm trying to figure out where it came from. Yeah. Well, he'd been watching this whole time, and so from that day to this one, he just becomes a sponge. So whatever he sees me do, he just stops me and goes, how do you do that? And he just sponges it up. Then he takes it and just makes it larger than life and applies it to whatever his style is. And that's really where I fit in. I was the guy that was like, music has to work. I don't have anything else. So I was very, very serious about it. Like, I never played any games. It was like, oh, let's try this. I could never try anything. It has to mean something. Otherwise, I can't do it.
And you know what? I have to give it to Dwight. See, one thing I can say, I know good music, and I don't like to waste it. And one thing about Dwight, when he came in my studio, he took my stuff to a whole nother level. I mean, when I say a whole nother level, I mean, I used to hear some of the other folks around there play and and produce. Kind of had that little Cracker Jack box sound, So I've been playing ever since I was 12 years old in the nightclubs back down in Bogalusa, Louisiana. And so one thing I can say, I know good music. Mm-hmm. And when he came on board, when he took my beats, see, I can lay down the foundation. When I turn it over to him, he was on a whole different level. And so he is my number one producer. He is the man. That's Dwight.
Pop gonna make me cry on camera, man.
So anytime I need any beats, anything done, either take any type of production to another level, he the man. Along with Q.
Yes, him too. No, but he's the one that, like, it's easy when we're in the creative zone to, like, we don't know how good our stuff really is until you kind of get it out. And so every song to this day, before we release music, we send it to Dwight. He'll be the one to say, hey, what are you thinking on that song? Like, the mix isn't there, the highs aren't there. And so he's going to be that honest opinion about, the music before we get it out to the masses to make sure we're all being represented well. So, yeah.
Are you guys still doing music together? Both of you, all three of you?
100%. Yeah, I say he moved away. How many years ago now?
12, 13
years. And it's crazy because since he's moved away, I feel like we gotten closer. We talk literally every single day. When he was here, it was kind of off and on, but you kind of take it for granted. But since he's been gone, we've been working on music and had huge opportunities from things that, we're separately doing. And we always had a deal. Whenever we're both doing something together, it's 50-50. He brought me in on the Disney project, Diane Warren. We work with some of the biggest producers and names out there. And we always had this pack. If we're working on something together, if one of us has an opportunity, we pull the other one up and we 50-50. Let's make it happen. So, yep, to this day, we're, probably closer now than ever.
Have you ever been able to produce with like guys like Gavin Rohn or some of those big names out there?
Yeah. Okay. So the industry is full of people that are talented, but maybe come across as gatekeepers. Can't believe you asked that. Gatekeepers, but you kind of understand very early like what you're dealing with, who you're dealing with, and so you kind of maneuver around those people or not. This guy over here, he's quick to cut somebody off. He's like, I don't know why you're dealing with certain people. I don't have the time for it. Me, I'm gonna be more cordial and kind of figure out, okay, we understand what they are, but we can get this, we could do that, kind of maneuver. This guy is a no nonsense guy, so I'm very strategic with what projects we work on together or not for, those Gavin Rohn reasons.
He's a very poised individual, and he's going to seek for the business opportunity first. That's one thing I got to give to him. But all my life, I carried music passion. So I've been the cat that, like, if it's not good, I don't care how much it pays. I don't want to do it. And that's just how I've always been. Because that's just the era I was kind of raised in. I came up in the 80s where it was either good or it wasn't. So with him, because he has such that business background, it really benefited. And it took a minute for me to understand our roles when we decided to create a partnership and a brotherhood in business and music. It took a minute for me to understand what our roles are, because I would find myself being over passionate when I needed to be diplomatic, and those were times where I probably needed to let him talk instead of saying what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And vice versa. And there are times when I seen, hey man, they're taking advantage of you. You know what I mean? They don't mean well, and I'm able to pull him aside and say, hey, when they really want you, this is what will happen. And he was able to see through experience, like, oh, okay, you were right. He just knows how to be diplomatic and work with people that are not necessarily, because the truth is, everybody in music isn't in music because they love it. It's they're in music because they think it's a fast way to stardom or whatever the reason is. And I've always been in music because I loved it. That's just the way it is. Like I hear music while I talk, regular conversation. People will never understand. People will never understand that. They want to. So I've always been that person, and he's able to balance me out, and he tells people, hey, I'm not bringing him in if it's, until something kind of manifests that will make it worth his time and his passion. Because otherwise you're not going to hear the end of it. And like, I remember he saw one incident. He's never seen me go off before the way he heard me go off. He thought I was talking about someone else when I was actually talking to the person on the other end of the phone, and he was tripping because he was like, I've never seen him. And so his response was like, bro, what did you do? Because there was but I've always carried that extra hard passion. I've toned it down a bit because I've learned from him, like, okay, every time is not a time to go off. Let's see what happens. You know, let's see what the opportunity is at the end of it. But that's what it is. Like, I've always been no nonsense because music has to work. Like, I don't have a Boeing or anything. Yeah. And, you know, if I don't make good music, my children don't eat.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think to go along with that, like, we've been back and forth to LA multiple times for a deal that's almost about to come through. And so, you know, we're there for opportunities, getting stood up for meetings and stuff. We have our music ready to go. And so, like, that's in the back of his mind too. It's like, he has to, you know, he has to make this work. I can go back to my Boeing. It's like, if it doesn't work, all right, maybe the next one will come through. But kind of, you know, knowing that's what's behind all of that, and then just kind of seeing that most times things don't pan out, and just thinking that there's opportunity somewhere else where they're kind of right where you are. So I know, you know, Tacoma, I've been here, born and raised. And, you know, for a good 5 to 10 years, I was trying to get out because I felt that's where the opportunities were. They weren't here in Tacoma. They're, you know, and I think LA and some other places, they do a good job of marketing opportunities, but it's not really real. You get in those rooms, you're so close. LA does a good job of making you feel like you're so close to success, or like you actually made it because you're shaking hands with some of these people. But you look at your bank account, it's like, oh, nothing really happened. There's no contract. And they took the credit for the work that we've done. And so just kind of knowing that, you kind of start to take a step back and think, like, okay, do I really need LA? What can I do where I'm from to kind of take what I've learned? Because, you know, the music industry, sometimes it gets a bad rap about, you know, how the business itself and how artists are taken advantage of. So it's like, we get a lot of clients now, not through LA, but we have people flying in here now to Tacoma, you know, to work with us because of, you know, the reputation that we built, and finding out by just us delivering and doing what we say we're going to do, people are happy. Like, it's like, that's it. We just have to deliver on what we say we're doing, and you're miles ahead of most of the other producers in the industry, you know, so.
Very true.
I think what the most important, to me, what I heard that got me excited is that people are coming to you. Like Tacoma, Washington, people are flying to you, and I know some of them. I've met some of them, and I think that's incredible. And it just is one more reason why you were such an easy choice for me to say, hey, would you get involved with Tacoma Rising? Because you are Tacoma Rising. Like, that's what I picture that. You are someone from here and believes in what you're doing. You've gone other places, you've tried it, and you're like, you know what? Why? I'll do it here. And I think that is so powerful, and we need more of that. That's what Tacoma is that we don't have to go anywhere else. You can come here. Yeah. And I love that. And that's what I think that's what we're all doing. And Dwight, you mentioned earlier that it's different from when you left. 12, 13 years ago. Tacoma's different. And I've been here 5 years, and I can say it's different from when I got here. And I just feel like there's things happening here in Tacoma, and it's moving. And
it is.
I love it. I think that's really, really exciting.
It has been said that the Northwest is the next spot. You know, the next spot where a lot of musical endeavors are budding from, you know, and I can feel it. I can feel it. I felt it bubbling maybe 5 or 6 years ago, you know, when he started branching out and having his own studio spot. I didn't know what he was going for at first, because I was trying to, because I kind of work with a blanket of all these different clients. But when I saw the type of clientele he was bringing in and where he was going with it, I knew then, I was like, okay, he's really going to try and do it, you know? And as things develop, I started feeling it. I was like, okay, there's something happening here that wasn't happening before, you know, and I disconnected myself from what I knew here and plugged into all the areas and people and communities that I wasn't familiar with the entire time I had been here, you know, and I started seeing it, you know, so this is just all of it kind of coming to fruition, and very exciting that he even, you know, because he told me about it from the beginning, you know, and I just was like, man, that is awesome, you know, and I'd come in and I would see the framework and and I'm like, wow, this is everything all of us have talked about for years, but never thought it would happen. So to see it now happening and happen for him, it's probably one of the greatest feelings in the world.
That's got to be a really good feeling.
Yeah.
You know what else I think would be a good feeling? Being nominated for an Emmy. Tell me what that's like.
Let's go. Well, actually, he was a part of it.
Have you been part of an Emmy?
Yeah.
2020, right?
2020. So we were part.
okay.
Matter of fact, somebody that we went to church with a long time ago, Melanie Denise Cunningham. She was
Wait, what's her name?
Melanie Denise Cunningham.
Is that you give her all three names?
That's how she introduced herself. So
Really,
it's
like a serial
engraved on
killer?
her
You
head.
know, serial killers do three names.
Melanie. It's weird just calling her Melanie. Like that's
Just
weird.
Melanie.
I'm like in
She's
school,
got-
I call her my Oprah.
Yo, Oprah, yeah. She's like the a activist, right? She's an activist, but it's one of those things like we never know where our projects are going to go. So we take on all kind of projects, and we just thought it was going to be another, someone needs some music for a documentary. And we're like, oh, okay, what's the budget? We can work within the budget. Let's make it happen. And so me, Dwight, and Celeste, we put some music together for it. And then we get a phone call. I don't know. It was probably more than a year or so later saying, hey, it's been nominated for an Emmy. And it come to the showing and stuff like that. And I didn't think it was real. It's like, okay, whatever. The minute we knew it was real because we were working with another partner of mine and we got nominated, but the person that we were meeting with actually won the Emmy. So we go to his house or his studio and the Emmy's just sitting right there. We're like, that should have been ours, that we should have won. But no, it was good just to even get nominated to be a part of, this group, to be, one of the top among what we do is amazing. We just give every project our all and, do what we do best and see what happens.
I didn't believe it at all. They would hit me. He's like, wow, we might be nominated for an Emmy. I was like, okay. It's just another thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, all right, doesn't mean nothing to me. On to the next check. That's kind of where I was. This was 2016 you told me about it.
Oh, wow. That was a while ago, yeah.
And you stayed at Boeing another 8-9 years?
Yeah.
Would have
easily.
cashed out right there. Like, man, I made it.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
That's such the irony of
Yeah.
the music.
I'm kidding.
industry.
I would not have done that.
Yeah, but there are people who do.
You make it and then
There
it
are
goes
people
fast.
who do. They see their
Yeah.
name on a thing and they go, oh, that's it. And they go quit their job and they do the whole thing and they never think past.
There's got to be a plan behind
Yeah,
it.
because I've seen my music in places that I'm like, I should be getting a check for that, right? There should be a check for my music to be on reality shows and TV commercials and all that. And then you don't get the check. And then you start looking around going, how are they getting the music? And I'm not getting the check. They
Napster.
just- yeah, anything. It could be anything.
LimeWire.
Yeah, you'd be surprised at people that,
Yeah.
so I stopped like just going and letting people hear my stuff. I stopped all of that because people just, they just kind of do that, and it was, so when he was like, oh, it's nominated for an Emmy, I was like, all right,
Yeah.
and then when I saw the Emmy on my dude's piano, and I was like, oh, Emmy 2020. And he goes, yeah, that's the one we were supposed to win. And I'm like, we were actually nominated? He's like, yeah, man, look it up. So I look it up and I had no clue. I had been operating this whole time like, nothing, So when I saw it, I was like, oh my God.
I think the biggest thing when it comes to like awards and music is like we believe we're good, right? So we want that nomination or that win or that Grammy, not to prove to ourselves that we're good. Because if we already have these top companies like the Cokes, Nickelodeon, MTV, like they're paying us for our music, so we have to be good, right? We want that award for marketing purposes, literally. Like we want everybody else to see that we're good and just to get their attention. Like, hey, you kind of dangle that in front, but then we just show them our library of what we've been doing for all these years. We didn't just become good overnight because we got the awards. Like, no, we've been working for 20 plus years just to get to our efficiency level and how good we are. So yeah.
And believe it or not, a lot of folks that have the #1 song out on the Billboard chart, they're not really making that much money.
Yeah.
That's true.
They're sure they're hardly making no money
Yeah.
because that's just the way it is. Like, they be having #1 song out there. You say, wow, man. But really, like the way they make their money is doing live tours.
Tours,
and
yeah.
merchandise.
Tours and
Yeah.
merch.
Yeah.
Tours
That
and
is
merch,
that
especially,
is
you
very
never
much.
know what kind of situation they're in. In music, people are kind of envy the position that other people are in. But it's like, hey, you don't know what kind of bad deal they had to sign to get out in front of that stage. It's like they're not happy. You walk into some of these big studios again in like Los Angeles, you think it's going to be a happy place. It's like UrbanWork. Everybody's working, you're collaborating with people, but it's not. It's miserable. You go there and they're just kind of working their way out of their bad deal that they got out of to hopefully have some freedom. You always hear people all the time, what happened to so-and-so? Thought they got signed. Like, yeah, that's what happened. They got signed. And the record label is a business, and if they have a vision for you or a goal for you, like you're gonna do what what your employer at this point tells you to do, and you lose all your creativeness, your creative say. So that's one of those things and I feel like over the years too, my job has become like, I want to produce and things like that. But, and Dwight could probably even talk to this too, but we're more like education now, like teaching, because there's, 50,000 plus releases per day. Now the role kind of switches from, you're good at what you do, but now how do you teach other people who, how do you stay relevant in the industry and then teach others how to do what you do as well to make them successful, so.
What's next for you? Is there a record label coming? Do you think that you will get to that point?
I would say maybe. I know if I'm hesitant, it's because I know that record labels now kind of have a bad reputation about how they handle their artists. So if there is some kind of record label that's coming out, it would be like a reimagined record label where, artists keep control of their work. We're not trying to take advantage of it. And it's like a different model, which I don't know what it is yet, where everybody can win. Artists kind of pay as they go. We're not trying to take advantage of their owning their masters or all their rights and just kind of be fair about it. So I think with kind of the groundwork that we've been doing and even what we've talked about recently with the Studio One podcast here that we're in, where, the thing that's stopping us from being a label is just that platform. We know we can make the good music in the studio. Now we need that platform for them to get it out, which is the podcast studio, and a place for them to perform, which is going to be right across the hallway, here. So I think it's kind of leaning towards that. Like we're naturally becoming a record label, but what that looks like on paper, we'll see what that is. But I think it's kind of happening without the strings attached.
You mentioned that you can make anyone sound good. I mean, when they come in and they sing and they perform, and I know you get all different levels there. Yep. The question is, can you make me sound good?
I would say yeah. I think between auto-tune, Melodyne, and reverb, we can a combination of those three things. That's the secret ingredient to making anybody sound good. But yeah, you'll be surprised too. A lot of people come to the studio like you said, different talent levels. If you sing boldly and with the passion, we could put you on a key, to be honest. Like if you're gonna mess up, like be confident with it, and we can, we can't insert the passion, but we can change your notes.
It's a little strong.
Yes. Exactly. Even like live performances, I don't know if you guys heard of live auto-tune, but we lock in what key you're in, and you're up there singing your heart out, and you cannot hit a wrong note, so.
Wow, that's incredible.
Don't get any ideas, man.
I was like, I think I want to change
college.
Yeah, exactly.
You can talk it now, man. You can talk. You don't even have to know how to sing. You can just talk.
Well, I'm working on it.
You're good. I'm quite sure you're a good author. You talk very well.
Oh, thank you.
At this stage of the game, anybody can be anything.
Yep.
Yes. That's a whole nother,
The first time I walked in your studio, and I think Jordan was in there, and she was performing, and I was watching you work, and I looked at your screen. It looked like something I would do in Photoshop or AutoCAD, where these layers. Explain those layers, because I think it's so interesting how you put music together, because it's very much like how I build architecture or like graphics and things like that.
It's a lot of similarities. Like it does start. It is layers. That's exactly what it is. So it's like building that foundation. A lot of times, since we're musicians first, it helps our production skills. So we don't have to go look for a sample to figure out what we want a song to sound like. We can figure it out and kind of actually play the foundation. I know with us, usually it starts with like a piano, chord progression, figuring out what the chord progression is to lay the foundation to either write over that chord progression if there's an artist there, or to start building the beat and just start adding the layers. One of the creative, I guess, ways of how music works today is like, there's very popular chord progressions like 4-5-1. I'm sure you guys seen some of those videos of where you hear top 40 songs using the same chord progressions. But now the creativity comes in with how you layer or what sounds you use over those chord progressions to make it sound different and unique to the listener. And so, like you said, it's just layer after layer. When we're starting in the creative process, there's no wrong anything. A lot of times if we're writing a song, we'll lay the chord progression, we'll get in there and just record the first thing that comes to our mind. Like sometimes not even words. We're just kind of mumbling. And then we say, oh, I like this from take 1. I like this idea from take 7. And then you're just kind of piecing it together to figure out what works. Because a lot of times, we get stuck on trying to write something on a piece of paper. Oh, what rhymes with hat? Oh yeah, cat. It's like, yeah. Mm-hmm. and it's very like basic. But if you record something as fast as possible, immediately if it sounds good. Sometimes you're going to sing something that's not grammatically correct, but it sounds and feels good, so you keep it. And so everybody's process is a little different, but that's kind of how we work as far as record things as early and fast as possible with no judgment. And then you can always make those fine-tune, adjustments, adding the auto-tune or the reverb to kind of put those final touches on there. But yeah, just building on layers and also knowing what is needed for that song. It's very easy to overproduce. You can do too much on a lot of songs. Like, oh, we need the horns. Oh, we need this. It's like, nah, just the piano and vocals is good enough for this this song so people can kind of lean into the message or the lyrics a little bit more. So it's just layers and no restraints at the beginning and then fine tuning. And then also understanding too throughout that process that not everybody's going to like what you put out there. They're just not. And if they don't like it, it's not for them anyways. It's going to, touch somebody, So if you make it for yourself first and not trying to fit in with the radio or follow the trends, let it follow, let it do what it's going to do, without the constraints of, oh, I'm not good enough or should I do this or do that? I was like, if you like what you've done, put it out there and let the world judge. They're going to judge it anyways.
Run us through the Grammys and your relationship with the Grammys.
Yep.
And then I believe they send artists up. Are they still doing that? What is that? What's that?
So I guess my relationship, we're me and Dwight, we're a part of this. There was this group this website where you submit your music to industry professionals and they get back to you within 30 days with the response of like, oh, you're good, you're not, maybe, with opportunities, right? So wasted a lot of money on this site until one guy reached out. He's like, oh yeah, you're good. We're going to do some work. I'm like, yeah, right. He's blowing smoke because this guy's from LA, just like any other LA person, until they fly me down and I'm sitting in the waiting area and like Kelly Clarkson walks by. I'm like, what is going on? Sierra comes and sits next to me and I think the Lakers were playing like OKC or something like that. And she says something, I stutter over my words. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then they call you into the room. They call all the writers and producers. You're walking by all these plaques like Justin Timberlake, Justin Bieber, Beyonce. And it's like intimidating. It's like, man, how am I here? How do I, like, why do I belong here? You instantly start questioning yourself, So you walk down a long hall. They sit you in what I call the hot seat. And they give you that auxiliary cord. Everybody wants that auxiliary cord because that's what you plug your phone or your laptop into, and you get to play your music through those big speakers. And so once you get that opportunity, you're going to know right away because these guys are ruthless. They're not going to sugarcoat anything. They're going to say, yes, we like it. No, we don't. Why are you here? Here's the door. So I played the first song and they were like, next, right away. I was like, dang, I think that was my best song. But luckily, I finally got around to music that they actually liked. And they signed me as a part of the team. And so, like I said, anybody that came out in the early 2000s that was R&B and pop, these guys had their hand in. These are the people that I grew up listening to, and now I'm signed with these people. And so they put you in writing groups, and everybody's like the best singer, songwriter. Most people are from church. They come from church, their upbringing. But you have no choice but to make amazing music. So it's either going to make you better or make you quit. But then you slowly start to see, those the politics and things. There's so much more than just the music. It's who you know, how much money you have, like all that goes along with the good music. But fast forwarding along, like I kept this relationship with Harvey because he was the one, Harvey Mason Jr. is his name, because he was one of the few ones from LA that kind of brought me in with opportunities and things like that. And he's now the CEO of the Grammy. So to this day, I reach out to him, like once a quarter just to check in, send him some music, open door policy when I go down there. And I mean, what other mentor can you have that's going to judge your music than the CEO of the Grammys, So that's my relationship with there. But it's not, and there's Grammy camps and things like that, but it's still those opportunities that, for me, it seems so far-fetched, like being from Tacoma, Washington. How would I ever get there? How would I ever make music? How would we ever make music for Disney or all these companies? But it's those relationships that you build that you don't even know you're building at the time, and you find out how legit and how real they are. So that's how the Emmys, the relationship with Grammys, Diane Warren, one of the best songwriters, again, just through relationships and just maneuvering the industry. So
I think there's 3 reasons on that couch of why you're down there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I think that it's the upbringing of music. It's the church. It's all those things that you guys did. It's the 25 years of the program you used to put on, like
the Gospel Fest, yeah.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about doing one of those.
He's gonna do a Gospel Fest on Broadway.
well,
You
that's
heard it here
inside joke.
first.
you know we can bring it back.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was like. Revive.
Don't get him going.
Yeah, he was like, whoa. Just kidding. But no, I think that's the answer.
That
is
foundation,
because
yeah.
It's what you guys have done for decades of that music. I mean, you guys have so much experience together right there.
Yeah.
And I think that's incredible. And then you guys are still really close, still doing music together.
Yep.
And you're going to continue to do that. I mean, you guys, it's family, right? That's
Absolutely.
really, it's
We're
cool.
doing it, yep.
And you know what? Like, I got to believe the family from Tacoma, Washington is a lot different than what goes on in LA.
Oh, 100%.
The experience down there.
100%.
And the fact that like people are flying to you is because of that. It's that experience, right? Yeah. Like we deal with, I mean, we talk about like experience in real estate all the time, like what we're trying to do to get people to come in and experience what we do. It's the same thing. It's that, it's that engagement. It's like that you guys care, that you're here for them and you want to build something with them, not take it. You want to build it.
Yep. I think it's the genuine relationships, which is sometimes more important than like your talent and the music itself.
Yeah.
Like even, I mean, the room that we're sitting in, like friends with Anthony, Sir Mix-a-Lot, which y'all know you have a story about, about that. But this whole thing came about, like I called him to figure out, cause he's a super smart guy when it comes to like gear and things like that, and just like maneuvering the music industry. And so I just called him to figure out, hey, what kind of speaker should I get for if I were to get a new studio? He was like, oh, come to this party. So I was like, man, I just want to know what speakers to get. So I go to the party, and that's where we met Steve.
Right.
Steve is the acoustician that built this, helped build this room as far as the details of how the sound works, my studio, and now Kelly's Olympian, that's across the street. And this is all from he felt comfortable enough. I was working with one of his artists to invite me into his circle of friends and say, hey, not being a gatekeeper like a lot of, music industry people are, and say, hey, my resources are your resources. And you had a chance to meet him at the ribbon cutting ceremony, a few months ago or so. So, and that's all just based off of, they never heard my music or anything. These other guys that are in they just know, oh, you got brought in from a good person. And here you are, you're one of our people, good, genuine relationship, which, people hang on to. And here we are. So.
That was a cool experience to meet him. That was really cool. I do have a question. Something that I keep seeing pop up on my Instagram is you and your little infomercials or whatever. I'm kidding. They're not infomercials, but they're really good. What got you on that?
Well, I've been doing watching a lot of videos about entrepreneurs and how the more successful ones, what they do. And a lot of it is like they're the face of their companies, and so you're kind of marking yourself as the expert in that industry. And so a lot of times that means getting in front of a camera and telling people what you know, and hopefully it's helpful for people. So out of my comfort zone for sure, even doing this, but I understand it's part of the process. But just teaching the knowledge, and it's been getting some pretty good results and new followers and things like that, and new customers from it. And all of it, is just teaching people what you know that you think is normal to you, but it's going to be, somebody's going to hear that for the first time. So, yep.
I think they're really good. And I love the quick clips and stuff, and just constantly going. Like we're trying to do more of that with the content and everything we're doing with for Tacoma Rising. We haven't done a lot for UrbanWork yet, but those kind of run together. But I think it's really good. And this podcast and some of the other podcasts we're doing is like getting those clips of something that was said that was really well put together, or is this really great comment? They're never mine. They're always someone else's, but as an expert, but no, I think it's really cool, and learning that, and the podcasting is new for us, but it's fun and it's enjoyable, and it's nice to get these conversations going and hearing from other people. And just, like that's what I love about UrbanWork, is that it's building a platform that people get to talk about themselves.
I agree, yeah.
And that's like, for me, it's amazing, because I learn from you guys. I learn from other people that are sitting on the couch or the chair, and they start telling me the things that their struggles, what they run into, and what they've learned from, and even books that they read. I mean, I'm not a very good reader, but audibles are good. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But no, I think that's really those. It goes back to engagement, right? Engaging with our members, and that's why I think it was so fun to have you on. You're part of the foundation we put here, or we built here, and you can bet that every time I take UrbanWork into a new kind of city, Q's coming with me.
Yep.
We're doing another studio.
Pack my bags. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's do it. More.
Yep.
Speaking of that, what's your experience been like with UrbanWork? Like, how do you like being I mean, you're a little different. You're a hybrid because you're not actually, you're in the UrbanWork, you're more of kind of in the amenities section of it, and you have your own studio, but you're still part of that shared kind of environment. Yeah. Like, how do you like the experience here as opposed to being on A Street at your studio?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing, to answer your question in short, like, I love it. A Street is more secluded, and it's like, nobody's going to walk by and say, oh, I'm looking to record today. Let me pop my head in. Like, nobody even knows the recording studio's there. The only people, my client base there, like, they either know or they're flying in for a specific reason and we're working. What UrbanWork provides is that safe place for people, to come through. I try to have my doors open whenever I'm not recording or doing any mixing, because I understand this can be, viewed as an amenity, with the podcast. But I also get a different type of questions and client base, because, people don't even know what a recording studio is, or a lot of times it's their first time ever stepping in a recording studio. So they're asking those questions like you asked. I mean, you were joking earlier, but hey, can you make me sound good? Like, yeah, we actually can make you sound good. This is how you build a song. And now it becomes, possible for an artist or somebody that wants a podcast to actually do that, So I understand that my studio here in UrbanWork can be, or people can feel the same way I felt when I walked into that studio in LA for the first time. Like, it now allows that access to have people have that feeling. It's like, oh man, and just open up those possibilities. So definitely a different client base, and it's a different, it's been great.
I'll say this, that you do most of the tours, and I've done some, but I do think that my previous company, I ran real estate for a co-working company that was we put it on a national footprint. So we started in DC, and we grew it to Chicago and Philly, and we had like 600,000 square feet, 16 locations.
Oh, wow.
And so we never, ever got to anything even close to this level on a podcast studio or any kind of studio. Mm-hmm. And when I do tours now and I bring them down here, and you can talk more about this, but it is a showstopper, and it's not checking a box. It's their minds are spinning about that. Yeah. I finally have an opportunity maybe to do that podcast, or I know someone else that would love this. Yeah. And that is incredible. And then when we show your studio, if you're down here and we show it, it's like, it's incredible. And it's been this really cool activation piece down here in the first floor, but part of the tour. Like, what has your experience been?
Yeah, I mean, everyone that I show this studio, they get really excited about it, whether they record themselves or they know someone who's been looking for a studio. It's so nice having the option to just come in and worry about the interview. You don't have to worry about camera setup. You don't have to worry about the sound. You have a dedicated sound engineer that'll make you sound good. And people really like that. And that's what I like about kind of the UrbanWork brand as a whole, is that entry level. It's like, there's no long-term commitments. Yeah. We provide what you need, and we're here to help and support all types of entrepreneurs. And it's really cool.
Yeah. And the other piece of that is that we're able to, we almost have built a media company, if you will. Like, we have a team, which we've talked about this with your background and with Manu and some other team members that we have. It's Tacoma Rising is a good example, but so is UrbanWork, is that we've got we have an audience that we've built, but now we have the tools to put the media together and help people get their message out. And whether it's Tacoma Rising or UrbanWork, it's really cool to be able to say, hey, by the way, we have a podcast that we would love to have you come on and talk about your business. Yeah. Tell us what you do. Let us help you get that message out, and take some clips. So hopefully when I'm scrolling in the next few months, I'm seeing clips of our episodes and other episodes on there, because we were able to give someone content to promote themselves. Yeah. And that to me is a really big win. It's not just an amenity, but this is a tool we use. And I don't know of anyone else doing that in co-working or even office in general. And I think that's been an exciting piece. And that came because you and I met and had a conversation. Like, I knew I wanted to do a podcast, but it grew it grew and grew. And that's why when you meet the really good people in your life, things snowball.
Right.
And you don't know what it's going to look like. 3 years ago, I was sitting up in my office this weekend. I was thinking 3 years ago, what was I doing? And I was thinking about how to make Tacoma Rising turn into something. I had a plan here for co-working that I was trying to get the landlord to do. And it was like sitting there thinking, is this going to work? And now we're sitting here thinking about what's that next level?
Okay, yeah.
How do you know what I mean? Like that's the fun. And I couldn't have done it without meeting the people that I've met and coming up with these better ideas. And that's the cool thing is when you get that, you build these teams and these people around you. We talk about this all the time. I don't want negative people in my life, or toxic people. I want people that are trying to do what I'm trying to do in their own way and gravitate around that, because that is what makes me better.
Yeah.
And I make other people better. I help them become better.
Yeah. And even the questions that I ask now as a business owner kind of changes from being here in the urban work space, because it used to be, do you sing or are you in music? And they say no, then I have nothing else to talk to them about. But not everybody sings, but everybody talks. And now they see the opportunities like, I can, like you said, their minds start going, I can use a podcast studio. It's like part of their marketing budget to get out, to provide a platform for that business. It just opens up a whole nother client base. So
I think the only market we haven't gotten into is like voiceover acting.
Ooh, yeah.
We got to find some voice actors.
Oh, yeah.
Dwight, you've got one.
He has a voice.
You got a voice for that.
Give him that voice that I like. Tell him. Show him.
This is WU5T6. We want to thank you for joining our podcast this evening.
Studio One.
Studio One.